You've written a new musical about a boy band.
Mm-hmm. So can we reveal the title?
Please.
It is Rude. The show and the name of the band in the show is Live in Concert. You're always honing your craft, which means you're always getting runs on the board. Whether there's 2 people in the audience or 2,000, you have still done something that's contributed to your growth. Were it not for those moments where I tried and failed and kept going and made terrible short films and really questionable sketches, I wouldn't be able to confidently create the work that I do today.
We've got a lot to talk about today, but I think what might be a really great place to start this conversation is preparing people for the name of a band we're probably going to say about 300 times.
Yes.
You've written a new musical about a boy band.
Mm-hmm.
It's a musical about a boy band that has an entire female cast.
Yes.
So all of the cast are in drag.
Mm-hmm.
And what band names didn't make the list? Let's start there. Let's start with band names that didn't make the list.
Look, I would love to tell you the band names that didn't make the list, but the name came first and the boy band came second. I knew...
Which is a first for boy bands.
Which is first for boy bands. So can we reveal the title?
Please.
It is Rude. If you have little people around, lock their ears. The show and the name of the band in the show is Fuck Boys, Live in Concert. But I had the idea that I wanted to write something about fuckboys because I was dealing with a few of them at the time, many moons ago. So that came first. And then later down the line, I decided that the container would be a boy band concert. So fuckboys. And at first I thought it's Fuckboys the Musical or it's Fuckboys Part 1. I thought it was a catchy title that probably wouldn't be allowed to be put on any poster anywhere.
Now, technically, we're not swearing because there's no K in the spelling. It's 2 C's.
It could be Fuckbois.
Like buckle or what's another double C? I can't think.
Oh, gosh.
I can't think. There's another double C word that should be a K. English is so shit. When you're trying to explain to a 6-year-old, why is that a C but an S sound? I don't know.
Oh, I know.
English is so dumb.
My goddaughter asked me what means. What does what mean?
That is an entire Sam Harris meditation right there. Just if you can be with what is what
is what.
And when you find what is, where are you?
Wow, I'm healed.
I listen to a lot of Sam Harris.
My brain.
The meditation app, that is. So yeah, so the name of the band is Fuckboys. So yes. Don't worry, we'll say this word so many times it'll stop making sense. It's a staggering piece of work. Audrey and I saw the first production of it that you did in Sydney at this amazing little theatre in Darlinghurst. It was unbelievably good. And it was so wonderful because it played upon what I loved about it is it was, as someone, I have a son who's 6. I have a stepdaughter who's nearly 22. I am myself a human male person. I know what it is to be a teenage boy, to be a man in his 20s. I see the kind of teenage boys and the men that Georgia interacts with, and I see the kind of kid that Wolf is. The perilous threat of men in our community is giant. And yet somehow one of the best commentaries I've ever seen about it was through the lens of a musical called Fuckboys about a boy band's last ever tour.
Well,
it was amazing.
I really appreciate that. I really believe that satire and laughter is one of the best ways, if not the best way, in my opinion, to make a point. Because you're so right. There's a lot of perilous... it's an overused phrase, but it's a real thing. Toxic masculinity is everywhere.
Let's call it unhealthy masculinity. There's healthy masculinity and unhealthy masculinity.
Absolutely.
Very unhealthy, because toxic means you're never going to be remediated. Like, we can't ever build there. Unhealthy, we can get healthy.
Yes, there's hope. There's hope.
It has
for
to be.
You
can't write people off, though, Brian.
No, of course you can't. Yeah. But there are so many examples of unhealthy masculinity and unhealthy dating practices. And I wanted to say something about it, but I have never been the sort of writer that wants to beat someone over the head with the message that this is a bad thing. I like to sort of sneak in the vegetables and do it through laughter.
First time I ever went to the Comedy Festival in Melbourne in 1996, I went to that show. Like, I could hear all around us in the town hall, just the walls on either side of our room caving in with explosive laughter. And there's one lady on stage sitting on a swing in a grown-up's version of a kid's skirt doing a monologue about how, her life as a woman in the dating scene was terrible. And while that was very valid, not probably a comedy festival show.
No.
I was disappointed.
Yeah. You got to find the ways to package these things.
Because if people, and we found this doing the news show, if people laugh at a thing they otherwise have always had a very strong automatic opinion about, and suddenly they find themselves laughing at an opposite of that, it goes around the bias. It goes around the bias that they've had.
Totally.
And suddenly they reconsider something.
Yeah. And the thing is as well with the show, yes, it's a critique of some, terrible practices in the dating wilderness that I've seen, but it's also quite affectionate. It's not writing off anybody. It is, important that we can laugh and poke fun at people and, as you say, have a little tiny kernel of hope that maybe things will change. But to your point, I remember a really early example of being given a serious message in a funny way, and it stuck with me. I think I was about 10 or 11, and all of the kids at my school, or in like two of the years, we were pulled into a meeting with our maths teacher, and he had a serious chat with us because there was too much name calling going on the playground, which is a very serious thing. And it's very important to talk to kids about this and being kind and not bullying each other. But he said, I'm really disappointed that you're calling each other names, but I'm especially disappointed at how much swearing and how many unimaginative names you're calling each other. So if you're going to call people names on my playground, let's raise the bar, let's do it in a creative way. And he went through a list of Shakespearean insults and insults from pop culture and great movie insults. And he said, if I hear you insulting someone, it had better be a 10 out of 10 insult, otherwise you're in trouble. And it got us so relaxed and in such a good mood laughing about it that I think it really did sort of make an impact. It's not that he cured bullying with one pep talk, but it gave us a message in a really different way than 10-year-olds are used to hearing it. And that's always stuck with me, that there's other ways to critique something.
Dickhead is really unimaginative.
Yeah, do better.
Yeah.
I never used to swear at all. I was such a good kid. And so now to think that I've written a show called Fuck Boys, I think my 10-year-old self would be quite alarmed.
So I do want to get to the show, but I think it's useful to paint a picture of how did you get to be the person that wrote this, yes, incredible, shall we say, observance of masculinity and femininity and how they intersect in our community, but also a true love letter, a love letter to boy bands and the culture of boy bands. When you were, getting talked to about more creative swears in the playground, please, that was not in Australia, it was in New Zealand.
That was in New Zealand, yes.
Yes. When you were young, though, you were writing screenplays and you were winning competitions and stuff. When did you realize, not everyone's writing screenplays? When did you realize that you were maybe a little bit different from other kids?
I have always loved pottering away with a pen and paper, writing and drawing and just creating things. And I've always loved performing. I remember when I was in about year 3 or year 4, we all had to do a speech. We had to talk about an activity or a hobby that we had. And I'd worked on it at home. I had a little idea. My mum helped me make some props. I got there and just did what I thought was the brief. And I had created this costume of this cat. I loved to cook and bake. And so I'd created this little chef costume with a little hat. And I'd made an oven out of a cardboard box and covered it in foil. And my mum had helped me make it. And I adopted this terrible French accent. And I was Pierre, the French chef. And I was cooking chocolate muffins. And I put real flowers in the bowl instead of flour, and the chocolate chips were rocks and all of these things, because I thought, I can do a funny thing about cooking, which I love, but why wouldn't I do it as Pierre the French chef? Like, that just seemed obvious to me. And everybody else did not do a character, Pierre the French chef. They just said, hello, I'm Jessica and I like to skip. And that was great. But I had so much fun creating this character, and I had so much fun as soon as I got that first little delicious laugh from my fellow year 3s, I thought, this is really cool. I like making people laugh. And so it wasn't a conscious decision that I was setting out to create a comedy performance. It just felt really natural in my 8-year-old brain that that's how I would answer this assignment. And I think since then I just kept, I kept always finding, I wasn't like the class clown, but I was always trying to find ways to bring in humor to whatever I was being asked to do. Mm-hmm. Probably did annoy a lot of teachers when I was meant to be writing much more formal essays than I ended up handing in.
So, two things. I've just started doing volunteer teaching at my son's school, teaching ethics.
Yeah.
In the time when other kids go and do scripture or whatever, there's a not-for-profit in New South Wales that teaches ethics to primary school kids and some high school. We're in primary school right now, and I can tell you that, yeah, there's some kids might be a little disruptive, but if they're creatively destructive, I'm like, yeah, that's a good one, but it's also, I need you to sit down, please, mate. Like, I am impressed. Don't
Not
worry.
everything needs to be a bit.
I am impressed, and not now. Secondly, I can absolutely relate. I was 8 years old. I was in grade 3 as well when I stood on stage and I got that first laugh. And in all going well, in 9 days from now, I'll be 16 years sober. And I can tell you, on full reflection, that laugh was the first high I ever got.
Yeah.
And I chased that.
Yep.
I chased that.
That's
I tried to find other things that would make it. They kind of felt a little bit similar, but they had terrible consequences. But there's truly no high that I feel inside my body that I get when I do that. And I don't know if it's exactly a selfish thing, because yes, I feel great doing it, but I can tell by the reaction the other person's having, if I've done it really well, they feel something similar.
Totally. And at the risk of sounding really earnest and corny, I do think it's so special about being able to make people laugh and to share laughter and to spread a bit of joy is a really wonderful thing. Like, I feel very clear that my purpose sounds like a lofty word, but I feel really clear that what I'm here to do is to spread laughter through my creativity. And it makes me feel really happy that even when I'm, it might be the cleverest joke that I could possibly make or the worst pun, but making somebody laugh really makes me feel happy. And you can share that with someone is so special.
Finding that is a great thing. Telling your parents, hey, I'm going to spread laughter through my creativity, doesn't generally buoy, adults with confidence that you'll be able to afford car repayments and rent. Sure. Like, how did you folks, but how did they take it when you were like, no, I'm not going to go and, go down that route and sit in a cubicle?
I'm very, very lucky because they're both incredibly supportive people. And as long as I really am giving something a red hot go, then they'll be like, cool, you're taking it seriously and giving it a go. So we support that, which I feel very privileged at because a lot of my creative friends don't come from that same position. I'm very lucky because on the one hand, on mum's side of the family, mum was an actor for years before she became a teacher. My grandma was a drama teacher. So there's lots of that creative thread running through. And then dad, he's very business-minded, very strategic. So I feel like I definitely got the show from mum and the business from dad. So together, they've been really good, sort of dad, especially in like building my career, like those sort of mentors.
So you've got show from mum and biz from dad.
Yes.
That is very fortunate.
It's been very fortunate in moments where there have been very quiet patches. I've been lucky that I can, talk to dad and make a little action plan and give myself some KPIs to get back on track. And it's also the reason that I started writing in the first place. I love performing. It's probably my first love, my biggest passion. But I learned very quickly that sitting around waiting for the phone to ring and be offered a big part, it could be a while to get that phone call. So that's why I started writing work. And so I think having the ability to do both has kept me busy and kept me focused. But from my dad, I really do treat this whole career as a 9 to 5. Unless I'm actually gigging, when I'm writing a show or rehearsing a show, it's 9 to 5 and then I put it away. I don't look at it again for the rest of the day. I really try to keep it as my job, and I love it, and it's a job I'm grateful for, but I don't want it to take over my whole life because I have had periods of that, and it's not a healthy balance for me.
What would you say to people about the benefit of creating the thing you want to do, whether or not it leads to you actually getting paid for doing that thing?
There are so many benefits to creating your own work, whether or not it leads to paid work. I think you're always honing your craft, which means you're always getting runs on the board. Whether there's 2 people in the audience or 2,000, you have still done something that's contributed to your growth. Even now, in the current script of Fuckboys, there is a line in the show, which is a line from my first ever solo show, which I did at Adelaide Fringe over a decade ago. And it's not like I thought that was going to lead to anything, but doing that show and learning from it and growing, and then doing the next solo show and tanking and then learning and then having a great night and then tanking again. All of those runs on the board have led me to a place now where I'm really lucky that this is my career. But were it not for those risks, were it not for those moments where I tried and failed and kept going and made terrible short films and really questionable sketches, I wouldn't be able to confidently create the work that I do today. So I think it's a frustrating thing sometimes when you can't quite see where it's leading, but you have to trust that you have to keep going, because if you want to get to that place, the only way to get there is to do this work. Every time you do it, you're getting better. I'm not one of those writers who will sit around and wait for inspiration to strike. That's why I said before, I really do try to treat this as a 9 to 5, sit down and write, whether I feel inspired to or not. And it took me a while to get to that place, because I definitely used to be like, I'll just wait for a great idea and then I'll go from there. But I think now, because I can be quite disciplined and just go, great, it's time to start writing. And the first hour might be absolute garbage flowing out of my pen. But I know that if I keep going, something will emerge, and I trust that I can find the something. But if you don't do that work, you will never find the something.
The 9 to 5 part is important as well, because, and this happened to me when I worked in breakfast radio. Tony Aldridge is his name. At 11, what do we get off air? We got off air at 9. At 11:01, as the breakfast team, we're still sitting in the office getting talked to about some client thing or whatever, he'd say, you guys can put the rest of this in an email. You go home now. And the salespeople are like, oh, he's like, they need something to talk about tomorrow. Because otherwise, what's their life? Their life is sitting in a meeting with you in this building, going home, sleeping in the afternoon, picking up their kids, having an hour with them before they go back to sleep. Do you back here at 4 a.m? They've got nothing to talk about.
Yes.
Go.
That's so right.
It's so important to, when you sit down for that first hour, that's your subconscious floating things up. You've got to get out there and feed it. You've got to go out there and put fuel in the furnace.
Yes.
And then just let it sit and compost for a bit.
There's that beautiful metaphor that is used a lot amongst creatives about you can't draw from the well if you're not filling the well. So that's exactly that. If you're not living your life and filling the well, it's very hard to create anything. I think there's also that very damaging stereotype of the tortured artist, which I've never resonated with, where you can only write that amazing breakup album when you're going through it and you're really heartbroken.
Or if you're high.
Or if you're high. Or if you're halfway through a bottle of whiskey.
Also bullshit.
Or it's 3 a.m.
Bullshit.
No.
It's terrible. When you listen back to that stuff, you're like, oh, we all thought that was the greatest song we've ever made. And you listen to it now, you're like, ugh.
But I believed it for a long time. And I felt a bit of imposter syndrome, because I'm just a cheerful little optimist who likes to go to bed at a reasonable time. And so I thought, therefore, I'm not a true artist.
So the idea of creativity and making people laugh is something you're like, oh, this is good. And then sitting down and writing, there's a delay between their creativity and the laugh. When did you start becoming aware of improvisational theatre where the creativity and the laughter happen at the same time, and often you're just as surprised as the audience?
I sort of got into improv by mistake. As I was growing up, I, did any sort of performing arts activity I could. I loved it all. And then it was at school camp, I think in year 7 or something, where we all got divided up into groups, and each group had to do a little segment of the 3 Little Pigs or something like that. And nobody wanted to be the big bad wolf, because obviously a dastardly villain. And I thought, well, I'll be the dastardly villain. I get all the best lines. And so I was the dastardly big bad wolf. And I was a very enthusiastic year 7 actor. And so when I huffed and puffed and blew the house down at the end and then came down the chimney or whatever happens, I
hear you're confusing Big Bad Wolf with Santa Claus, but sure.
I entered the pig's house with such enthusiasm and such force that I immediately broke the prop cauldron that was supposed to be my downfall. And so the cauldron spilled over, and I thought, oh, what do I do? Oh, gosh. And everybody else on stage looked horrified, because the whole climax of this piece was ruined now because the big bad wolf was still alive. And so in my head, I just thought, okay, we'll justify it. This is good news for the wolf. And so I went, hooray! You'll never catch me. And then I ran off the stage, because I thought, great, well, that's a great outcome for the wolf, is that he didn't get killed. Happy days. Totally ruined the show. The rest of the year 7s didn't know what to do. Awful.
And the prop.
And the prop.
Theatre director has been spewing. It's like,
Well, the theatre director came up to me afterwards and she had this sort of like snooty voice and she said, I saw your performance as the wolf. You should try improvisation. We meet on Tuesdays, and then just left. And so I remember that really vividly. We meet
Was she
on
wearing a
Tuesdays.
cloak? Like in my head, like she's got a cloak on. It's like in the tower in the Traitors where they come up and they pull
It was
the hat.
Claudia Winkleman herself who
Yeah.
said, we meet on Tuesdays. And so I went the next Tuesday to this this improvisation club, which was all the year 8 girls. So obviously adults, grown adults compared to me at year 7. And I was terrified and I didn't do anything in that club for months and months and months because I was too scared. But
you watched.
I watched
yeah.
and I learned and I really enjoyed it as an audience member.
Yeah.
And eventually I got my confidence
What
up.
style of improvisation are you doing in New Zealand?
That was all sort of theatre sports and
Right.
short form
More
games.
kind of gaminess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then when I moved to Sydney, I transferred and finished my degree over here. I joined the...
Oh, so you did go to uni?
I did go to uni.
Right. What did you study?
Well, I tried very hard to get into drama school and I had about 4 auditions in a row where I was first reserve on the wait list. So close and yet so far. And so I thought, oh God, I'm never going to be an actor because I didn't go to drama school and that's the only way you can be an actor.
Oh, dude, I was turned away left and right. Yeah, that and music school.
Because it is hard to understand. It's a subjective thing anyway. You don't know exactly what they're looking for. But also in my brain when I was auditioning, I thought, okay, so if you want a job, whatever job it is, you have to go and do the course to get the job.
Yeah.
And so to be an actor, you must go and do this course.
Yeah.
And all of the actors that I admire have been to all the big drama schools. And so when I didn't get in, I was devastated. And it took me a long time to be okay with the fact that I didn't get in or I nearly got in.
Oh, university, the messaging we give kids about university is so terrible. Like if you don't get the course, your life is over.
Truly.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. What course did you end up doing?
I did an arts degree in Spanish and French, which...
You have degrees that are less useful than a drama one? That's got to be up there.
I can't say I use it very much, if at all. But going to uni, thank God I did, because when I was there, I joined the improv club there. I joined a sketch comedy group. I joined a theatre group. And all of the people that I met in Sydney, I'm still working with today.
Right.
So many of my creative collaborations come from that time. And that sort of became the boot camp for me as a writer.
Where was which uni was this?
Sydney Uni.
Sydney Uni.
So Michael Heng and Ben Jenkins and Steen, all those people were the elders who were wise and passing down their comedy knowledge.
So for folks who may not realise that Sydney Uni had a long tradition of lunchtime theatre sports.
Yeah.
And the great superstars, like Andrew Denton was the head honcho of that. Rob Carlton was in that. Adam Spencer was in that. Like all the really great Rebecca De like all the big great people who went on to huge things. They did just hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of flight time being shit sometimes.
That was the thing. I couldn't believe it. I remember coming to Sydney Uni and going to the pub at lunchtime, not knowing that this show was on. This is before I joined this group, and I heard this huge ruckus, so I followed the noise, and it was Manning Bug going off on a Thursday lunchtime with people doing improv, and there were probably 200 or 300 people packed into the pub watching, and my mind was just blown that they could have a regular audience, and exactly as you say, it just runs on the board every week, sometimes absolutely flying high, sometimes tanking really hard. And then when I joined and I started getting those runs on the board, that was a huge time of creative growth for me, because getting the experience, getting the opportunities to just try and fail is something that we often don't have in a small industry where there's not heaps of performance opportunities. So it was incredible. It was with respect to my wonderful degree, that was my degree.
Yeah, truly. I think Ed Cavalier, was another one that was
Yes,
a part of that.
yeah.
So when you see Ed Cavalier on, have you been paying attention? And he's just so fast, so sharp. It's because for countless days, like hundreds, he was up there on stage in front of 200 people who were going, we want funny and now.
And not just 200 people who want funny and now, but 200 often drunk, rowdy students who will very much let you know if they're not finding things funny.
Yeah.
So learning to wrangle that and harness the energy of a room was a huge lesson.
And you mentioned having a small industry. I guess in other countries you can get flight time up and be shit and suffer in front of audiences that you don't know. But when the industry is small like it is in Australia, like, yeah, people know you if you sucked. And that's good incentive. It's good incentive to be a little bit better. But
Yeah.
and it's funny because G's just finishing her degree right now, and just how different so you were at uni 10 years ago or so, yeah. So even in 10 years since you're at university, I dare say, like, the idea of 200 people on the piss on a Thursday lunchtime at her campus that doesn't exist. That's like, no, because she does her lectures here.
Yeah.
She sits on a laptop.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about it last night, speaking of men, in that I was able to be kind of transitioned into the world of, as number 2 of 4 boys who went to an all boys school, transitioned to the world of like, oh, maybe women aren't the thing that I've learned they were from the lunchtime chats at school and, among my entire cohort of males. Oh, wow. Okay. It was a difficult transition for me, because I made some mistakes with that, but I learned very quickly that, like, this is okay. And so you have that kind of almost enforced socialization.
Yeah.
Like there's so many engineers who can't look people in the eye when they show up on day one of uni back in the day. But because they have to actually go to a place that's not in their house, be with people either on public transport or in a lecture, and actually bump up against, these are guys who've probably never spoken a woman's name to her face ever, right? But they're real good at maths.
Yeah.
By the end of 3 years, they at least know how to have a conversation, and they at least know, kind of osmose some socialization into their lives.
Totally.
It's not just about the degree.
Absolutely not. You do so much growing socially and emotionally through being there. I talked to my little cousin a little while ago who started uni last year, and it is interesting just comparing our experiences because, as you say, so much of it now is online, and she's really been trying to throw herself in socially, and it's been the making of her, but she's moved to a different city. She's really gone all in because I don't think she was interested in that style of just being behind a screen the entire time. And I think, post-COVID, everything's changed. The landscape has changed so much.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's great because it's way more accessible for so many people.
Oh, yeah.
But we do miss that piece of socialization.
It's not just about the knowledge. As far as helping our community be more, I dare say, cohesive or more community, it's just really important to bump up against other people. And I think for me, comedy is vitally important for that, because when I did the Sydney Comedy Festival program launch the other night, and there was a room full of like business leader kind of people, but in the same room of 300 people, it was at the Darling Quarter Theatre at Darling Harbour. It's amazing. There's, people in overalls who live in a share house in Five Dock with 8 other people. They both laugh at the same thing.
Yes.
And that is so, so, so powerful, because we are more alike than we're told.
Oh my gosh.
And we find the same shit funny.
We find the same stuff funny, and we have for thousands of years. My brother's a historian, and sometimes we go deep into nerdland of sort of why we laugh and what different cultures find funny throughout history.
Yeah.
And I find it weirdly comforting that, etched on the walls of ruins around the world and embalmed in ashes in Pompeii are dick jokes and your mum jokes and things that might be extremely immature, yes, but have been making our species laugh for thousands of years. I find that weirdly comforting because we are all connected by laughing at things.
Steven Pinker was on the show. Like, I'm just dropping names like crazy. He was talking about his new book, Common Knowledge, when I know that you know, that you know that I know, that we both know, that we drive on the left-hand side of the road, means it's safe to drive.
Yes.
All right? Laughter is one of the things that creates common knowledge, and it's really, really, really powerful. Yeah. And which is why when you've got that serious message about kids, don't just use the word dickhead or fuckwit, even though,
can be satisfying
fuckwit's
sometimes.
a pretty good one. It's better than dickhead. Bastard.
Dipshit.
It's funnier in a Kiwi accent. When people see you up on stage improvising, they might think, hey, if you're doing it really well, they think, oh, they wrote that. They wrote that. That's written. What would you say to people about what they might gain out of maybe learning a little bit about the structure of how improv works and how that might benefit their day-to-day life?
I think it's one of the best things that I ever did was go on that Tuesday afternoon to that improv club because, even though I was a kid who was into performing and all of those sorts of things, I found it very easy to play a character, but sometimes being myself, especially at that age, I could get quite shy. And even when I moved to Sydney and joined the improv club here, I still didn't talk for about 3 months because I find it much easier to be a character on stage than myself in the real world sometimes, or at least I definitely did back then. And I think improv is such a good way to help you through that because it teaches you so many life skills. My first ever improv coach in my first lesson said that when you learn to improvise, you become better at life because you have to be present, you have to listen, you have to be a team member, you can think on your feet, but also that you tap into this sense of play that we just so often forget, especially as we're adults. We can get very serious and bogged down in the day-to-day and we forget to be playful. Something that I really passionately believe is that the phrase child's play is a terrible phrase. It's not child's play. It's play for everyone, regardless of age. We should all play. It's just a thing that we need as people. And so to improvise, to tap into our playful side, it makes you a better human. You're more relaxed. You're more open to ideas. Whether or not you want to turn it into being an actor is beside the point. It opens your mind and just helps you connect with people in a way that's very different to the ways that we're very rigidly doing most of the time.
The thinking structure about here we are in this perilous situation. We're up on stage. It could be in front of 20 people. It could be in front of 200 people. And we don't know how this is going to end, but we both want this to end really well.
Yes.
Okay? We just simply don't have time to argue about whose idea is better.
No.
And if we do, the audience will get that, and this whole thing's going to fall on its face. So first idea that can get us to a big laugh that we'll get out on is the best. It doesn't matter what it is because we can build on it.
And if I treat your idea like it's the best idea I've ever heard and you're treating my ideas the same, then the whole thing will flourish. But if I'm just looking after myself and you're just looking after yourself, then we're putting a wall between us and the whole thing will fall over immediately. It really is a good exercise in setting your ego aside. And it takes a while to get used to that feeling. It's a bit counterintuitive, but the sooner you stop trying to find a big laugh, the sooner you will get a big laugh.
Oh, yeah. I was like, improv is how I started. And I did not realize it, but it gave me a set of superpowers that once I started working in radio and working with phone callers.
Oh, yeah.
The program director was like, what are you doing there? What is that? I'm like, the stuff I would do at Le Boite Theatre when I was in high school. That's that. It's you just go, whatever they just said, you just try to build on it because you know where you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to a big laugh at the end, and then they play the song.
Totally.
Tell me more. Because these are guys who would literally write down every talk break.
Yes, right.
All right, and there's a benefit. There's structure in radio as well, but that gave me something that I never had before. A couple of like really cool concepts. I know it's two simple words, but if you take one thing, yes and. I mean, it's real high school level kind of improvisation. But if you can go, hey, I don't know, I'm going to run late because my tire's flat. Yeah. And I guess what I could do rather than, oh, fuck you, blah, 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 like we can't do shit about fuck in that situation. I can't change a tire on the phone. What I can do is throw some possibility into the situation because that's the only thing that's going to move us forward.
Absolutely. And it's funny, yes, and it's such a famous concept for improvisers and comedians.
It's poo-pooed a bit by the hoity-toity types.
I know, isn't it funny? Because it is poo-pooed a little bit, but it is a guiding principle for a reason. We're building scenes and stories and characters out of thin air, and the way we do that is to listen and build on what you've just said. And yeah, when you can finally connect the dots, that is fantastic for stage, but even better in real life. Not that you need to literally go around saying yes and all the time, but if you have that philosophy, it just makes you a much better person to be around.
When I'm doing this ethics teaching, which I do on Tuesdays, they call me Mr. Ginsberg. Wolfgang calls me, like I teach him as well. He calls me, you've got to call me Mr. Ginsberg when I'm in there, okay? Because I'm not your dad. One of the things that you're trained, because they train you as well how to be a teacher, like not proper teacher, but well, enough for half an hour. One of the things is, that's a great answer, Bridie. Can anyone build on what Bridie's just said? Yes. Anyone add to that? Just showing the nature of discourse and how can we make this particular idea
I
bigger or
love that.
better or a little more chewy.
Yeah.
The other thing I think improv is wonderful at in that it just gives you a sense of it doesn't matter what happens, I get to make something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to choose what to make out of it. It can either be a tantrum. I can either use it to justify me screaming and shouting, or I can make something fun out of this. You don't even have to be on stage at the Manning Bar.
Yeah, no, you don't. In any situation, you can make anything out of it. I love that. That they're starting them young with that concept is really
pretty good.
important. It's really nice because it's also so often, you know, with your brainstorming or having a chat about something and not in a stage situation, just in a work situation, you might have to go through several terrible ideas that are the wrong idea to get to the brilliant idea. But you can only get to the brilliant idea if it's a safe place to yes and try things out and add to the conversation. But
Yeah.
if you immediately shut ideas down, nobody's going to want to suggest anything, and then you never get to the brilliant idea. So just as a philosophy and a mindset for making people feel comfortable to share and create and offer ideas, it's brilliant.
The Koreans have really done something incredible with boy bands recently, in that it was always there with magazines and postcards and posters and things, but the monetization of female teenage infatuation has been something that boy bands have done since they began.
Oh yeah.
In the 60s, 50s, 60s. The South Koreans are taking it to completely the next level. How old were you, and there possibly is a hormonal Venn diagram that crosses over, how old were you when you first became aware of, there's these four boys all seem to know the moves to the same song? That's interesting. Do they know each other?
How did this happen?
Yeah.
The first boy band that I really remember having like a big proper phase was Westlife.
Yes.
Yeah, loved that. That
Kissing posters kind of thing?
Well, actually, I didn't have any posters on my wall, but my friend Jackie did, and she was the only one of us that had a Westlife poster. So we would all love to hang out at Jackie's house because then we could like talk to the boys on the poster, and that was very exciting.
And in your mind, they were speaking back in a version of English that you could understand, because when you actually hear them talk, like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
I did radio with McFadden for a couple of weeks. Great one, Brian. And I was like, oh.
Yes, great point. And I agree,
Yes.
Brian.
Ha ha. And yes, and Brian.
Not only were they talking back to me, Osh, they were singing directly to me and had written lyrics that were just for my ears, and they didn't apply to anybody else. But I think that's the beauty of pop music generally. I was just starting primary school when Spice Girls launched, so I just had this fantastic. I was really lucky to be a little kid when there was this huge explosion of pop groups, girl groups, boy bands. So it was just everywhere. And I did dance classes and all those things. And I really fancied myself as a pop star in my bedroom with a hairbrush in the mirror. And so it was just such a constant soundtrack. I remember even going to school and making up Backstreet Boys lyrics and Spice Girls lyrics to songs that didn't exist because I wanted to be cool. And it's like, oh, you don't know this song? You haven't heard the latest single? And then I would just make up a pretend Backstreet Boys song, which clearly is a skill that I've needed all these years later.
That is brilliant. The whole, it's been difficult watching some of the documentaries about life in those boy bands, particularly the Lou Pearlman stuff.
No, it's so funny, isn't it? It's such a contrast between this beautiful, squeaky clean, highly polished image we're presented.
Yeah.
And then if you watch any of these documentaries or you do any digging whatsoever, behind the scenes, it can be so seedy, it can be so grueling. These performers are often so young. I think Justin Timberlake was 14 when he became part of NSYNC. Like, it's crazy, this pressure and this global scale that, you're under the microscope suddenly.
Well, the money was staggering.
Yeah.
I remember when I worked in radio when Human Nature launched, this Australian boy band, and they're great. And I remember Phil telling me, oh man, Backstreet Boys managers on a 64% deal. Like, hang on, wait, what? He goes, you're 64. 5 guys get 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what even? How? They sold millions, 10, 20, 30 million records. They sold out stadiums.
Yep.
They made no money. And that is so bad because we all love those songs.
Yeah, and you have no idea how cutthroat it is on the other side. I didn't know any of that until I watched that documentary, and I was flabbergasted because they were the biggest stars in the world for a while. So you just assume that means they're loaded and everything is perfect. It really wasn't, but that's not what the music would have you believe.
Were there New Zealand boy bands that showed up that you got to go down to the record store and say hello to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, big time. I remember really vividly when I think it would have been maybe 12 or something, one of the radio stations back home did this nationwide competition to build a boy band, and it went for months, I reckon. And they built this boy band, and they were like, okay, this week we're looking for the bad boy, and this week we're looking for the heartthrob, and they built this boy band.
That'd make a great TV show. Get
was
Cowell on the line.
So
I really like the one direction this is going in. I think it could really work. Sorry.
No, I loved it.
Oh, you laughed.
I
It's
did
a
laugh.
terrible pun.
I told you before.
I held the bow like back that far as I was walking towards it. You still went for it.
Still always.
Thank you. So yeah, they're looking for the bad guy. We're looking for the one with the eyebrow ring.
That's right. So they built that band, and I loved that entire
were they called?
process. I know the radio station was The Edge, but I can't remember what the boy band was called. But they released a song, and it was great. And then there was also the first concert I ever went to.
Yes.
It was a festival, and I saw in the same day a really weird lineup for me. I saw the Living End, who I thought was so cool, and I saw Nesian Mystic. Who do you remember Nesian Mystic?
Yeah, they're amazing.
Okay, so that to me was like sort of boy band territory-ish. And I just thought they were so cool, and they had great moves and everything, but they were a bit cooler than maybe some of the boy bands that I'd been growing up with. But I thought they're amazing.
When you were in this Westlife obsession, like the second they came on the telly, did you like hit record so you could watch it back again and all that?
I would, yes, but also just to practice my Irish accent.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so cool. I was really fascinated even then. It's funny. I've written the show, which is about a boy band, and I haven't really realized until the last year or so how much of this has been an interest of mine for so long, because I love a lot of music genres. But I remember when I loved Westlife and Five and Backstreet Boys, I really was quite fascinated, not just by the music and the video clips, which I'd watch every Saturday morning, but I was really fascinated by how they were put together. And I loved this with One Direction too, and they were put together by that panel being like, okay, this is how we're going to balance this group. This is what we need. I was really fascinated by the mechanics of it all. And I didn't remember this until like the last year. But when I was in my final year of school, I remember, not to brag, but I was a prefect. Yeah, it's a huge deal. Hold for applause. I was a prefect. Thank you so much. All the prefects had to be responsible for that one activity. So if it's your week, you're doing an activity. And I remember putting so much effort into my activity, which was a school-wide search for the new boy band of the school. And I spent so long on this, and I had the panel, the Simon Cowell type characters on the panel. People from all year groups did a Spice Girls number, a Backstreet Boys number, or an original song, and they were rated on their dance moves and the characters that they had. And the boy band that won was called Shake and Bake.
Yes.
And they did pancake-related boy band songs. It was fantastic. They performed at Assembly. It went off. So clearly I have been interested in the production elements of it for a while.
Did you choreograph Shake and Bake's performance?
No, they choreographed it themselves. And then when they performed at Assembly, I said, boys, listen, great effort, but if we're going all the way to the big gym for school assembly, we do need to refine the performance. So I stepped in for the big one.
There's one particular boy band move which I'm a massive fan of, and I even on Masked Singer once I got to do it, which is the holding the microphone when you catch the passing butterfly, hold it to your heart, and then release.
Beautiful.
It's only for the slow tempo ones though.
Oh yeah, that was soulful. Tell me why.
Exactly. When it comes to boy band moves, do you have some favorites?
I love the heart pulse. This one, I will say in Fuckboys, because it's not only boy band, but it is this weird fuckboy, very strange masculinity. There's a lot of pelvic thrusting going on, and that's a great time. There's so many. I quite like how all the different boy bands that we're sort of referencing in the show, but that we've talked about even today, they all had their own little moves or their own influences, and some of them had very hip hop influences. Some of them look almost a bit like aerobics sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's just there's a lot of NSync moves that we've sort of referenced. I really enjoy that it seems like not just boy bands, but every pop group in the early to mid noughties had like a Latin inspired moment. There's a lot of like weird flamenco flourishes here and there.
When it started coming time to put this show together, you wrote all the songs. That is, I know a bloke that wrote the music and lyrics for Avenue Q.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. And we were talking about how much work it takes to put the music and lyrics together for a musical. It's called The Book. It's a gargantuan amount of work. Did you understand what you were undertaking?
No.
Okay.
Emphatically, no. And I cannot believe how hard it's been. I've loved it, but it's been so hard. I've never worked so hard on anything, let alone something so deeply silly. I've been working on this at the same time that my brother's been finishing his PhD. And sometimes he would come home and be like, today I did this incredibly important piece of research. And I would say, today I spent 3 hours finding rhymes for the word clitoris. And both things that we're doing are equally valid and important. But goodness me, it's been so hard. I've been really lucky that I've worked with this incredible music producer. So once I've composed the melodies and chords and all of that and figured out, how the song goes, working with this unbelievable producer who's called Dave Muratori, who is a pop producer, it's taken them to this next level of, really feeling like a proper boy band's back catalogue. And that's been super fun. But yeah, it's been so much work. I started work on this years ago. I had the idea for Fuck Boys in 2019.
Right.
And so it's been a lot of drafting and redrafting and a lot of hit songs that maybe didn't make the final show.
Oh, that's for the extra fan only release.
The B-side.
Well, it's for the fan club release.
That's right.
Which was always where the really great singles were. With the like Hanson do it every year. They had a Christmas single.
Hanson, another one.
Well, I would argue they're not a boy band.
Well, they don't have the moves.
They also weren't assembled. They are brothers.
That's true. Well, they were assembled by the parents.
Not really. They were just there's 7 of them. There's just 3 of them.
What?
There's 7 Hanson brothers and
finding
sisters.
this out live on the mic. That's crazy.
Of all the bands in the world that I have bought tickets for, booked plane tickets, booked hotel rooms, there's only one of them that I've ever done that for. And there's only one band I've ever followed around the country on a tour, and that is Hanson.
What?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I once saw Metallica 7 times in 15 days. I've gone around the world with a AAA laminate around my neck. When I worked in music television, the only band I've ever followed around on a tour is Hanson.
Hanson has your heart.
They're fucking amazing. Those guys are amazing because they got dropped after their second album. And they went, all right, we have the most engaged, most rabid fan base.
Oh, yeah.
And they went straight with letters, with mail, pre-email. They kept this fan base and nourished this fan base and gave them the exclusives and, invited them first to the gigs and had, like, Prince was also doing it in 96, the NPG Music Club. He would release albums to only those people.
How special.
Yeah. So, yeah, Hanson,
history.
Next level, man. Next level. But they don't quite have the exploitation element that the boy bands that you've written a musical about have. The other wonderful thing, and you mentioned it earlier, because of some of your experiences in the dating world with perhaps unhealthy versions of men and courtship, you thought, I'm going to have to talk about this. A musical. That's what I'll do. But there's something about musical comedy, particularly if you're telling it through the lens of something that sounds like a boy band song, because some of them are really close. The real ones are really close to the kind of subject matter. Like, I Want It That Way is, break those lyrics down.
100%.
Not a great look.
That's where a lot of it came from, listening to not listening to the lyrics, reading the lyrics and going, oh gosh, when you strip away a catchy tune, some of this stuff is...
Tell me why. It's nothing but a party. Come on, I want it that way.
My eyebrows were very raised when I read some of these. But you're so right about the whole, like, building the comedy musically. I love musical comedy and I've loved it for a long time. I grew up with Flight of the Conchords being my absolute heroes,
Fuck me. Come on, New Zealand.
Right? Again.
Really? Save some for the rest of us, will you?
But I think a lot of people are off musical comedy, and I understand why. I think it's really hard to get it just right. If the music's great but the jokes are bad, the whole thing falls over. Vice versa, whole thing falls over. You've got to do the music and the jokes really well for the whole thing to be great. And something that I really believe and that I've worked hard with Dave as well when we've been putting the finished tracks together is that the comedy isn't just in the lyrics. It's got to be in the orchestration. It's got to be in the rhythm. What's the funniest sound or sample or type of drum that we could use here to emphasize this joke? So there's so many different layers of it, which is why it's very time consuming but very satisfying that we've got it right. It's also where a whole lot the idea to, as I said before, I wanted to do a show about fuckboys as a species that I'd encountered in the wild. But the boy band piece came later. And it was when I was at a party and I saw this guy repeat almost verbatim the same attempt at picking up a woman 3 times in the course of one night that I went, oh my God, it's like a dance routine. And then I went, oh my God, it's like a dance routine. And that's where it sort of crystallized for me, seeing this like really performative element. And I was like, oh, it is a routine. We can rehearse this and these two things can work together.
Wow.
So huge shout out to that man. Thank you.
Can you please reveal at least like what like the first 3 moves? Like, can you give us an idea?
There was, you know what? It's funny because there was that, but there was also another guy that after I had that idea that I guess maybe, when you notice a red car and then suddenly all you can see is red cars. I'd had this thought of like, oh my gosh, it's like a routine. And then I started seeing it everywhere. And my favorite example of this is when I was at a family friend's place for a holiday long weekend. And I had told her about this idea for a show that I was working on. And she said, oh, you'll love my cousin then. He's a fuckboy. And I was like, fantastic. I'm going to do some research. And so I made sure to talk to him all weekend. And at one point in the weekend, we're, all outside looking up at the stars. It was a beautiful night. There was a bonfire, all having a great time. And he asked me, can you read the stars? And I said, oh, no, I know the pot handle. That's it. And he goes, here, let me show you. And he put his arm around me and started pointing out stars. And I said, wow, they're so beautiful. And then he looked at me and goes, yeah, it is beautiful. Just looking at me. And I think he thought that was a really amazing line. But then I went back the next year for that same holiday weekend. And he verbatim said that same exchange to another woman. And it made me so
Arm around?
happy. Arm around.
Wow.
The stars are so beautiful. What a beautiful view. Yeah, it is a beautiful view. Looking directly at this woman. Perfect. Thank you so much. Directly into the script.
That's
ideas you go.
When watching your show, I went with my wife Audrey, who's she's a little bit younger than me, not like she's 7 years younger than me. But we both very much are of the same era of being a part of that boy band thing. I don't think it'd be incredible if a Western country could do anything to rival what South Korea is doing. I don't think it's possible. All right, because we just don't have the machine-like industry that feeds for every one of those people. Like when we did Australian Idol, for every one of the person that you saw in the top 12, we probably had to audition around 1,500, 1,200 people. Okay.
Whoa.
So we just don't have the numbers. So to have like a little love letter in time to the moment where, this was a real cultural thing and so formative for so many people. I think even though the Georgia, because of the economics of it, the artists she really likes, they're solo artists because you can't really tour a band. It's not really, it costs too much money. You have 6 hotel rooms and flights. Me and a tour manager, easy. So that's the kind of artist she follows. They're all solo artists now, but it doesn't mean that people who maybe didn't grow up with boy bands couldn't get a vibe out of what's happening in your show.
Well, that's the thing that really struck me and took me by surprise. So we did the first ever version of it as part of the New Works Festival at Old Fitz a couple of years ago. And that was great because I learned so much and the show's grown from them. But I really just expected that the audience would be women my age who'd maybe, dated and encountered some fuckboys.
Yeah.
It didn't really click to me until we saw that the audiences, there were a lot of people of all ages who'd grown up with boy bands and that the container, it's about fuckboy behaviour, but the container of the show is this boy band, that the nostalgia piece was going to be such a draw card. It hadn't even clicked in my brain until we started seeing the audiences. And whether you grew up with New Kids on the Block or Backstreet Boys or Five or One Direction, that each generation has that anchor point. And so that was really interesting to us that it was a wider age range demographic than I was expecting, and that people just have such a soft spot in their hearts for that sort of music, because it also reminds you of, maybe when you are 12 and you've got that poster that you're talking back to, and a more innocent time.
Yeah, that song is actually for me.
Yeah.
They're singing that
It's
song.
not for you, Jackie. It's for me.
And we already agreed that one's my boyfriend, not yours.
Exactly.
There will be fights later in the playground, and I will call you a very creative name.
We had a fight in year 2 when we all entered the talent quest as Spice Girls, but we all wanted to be Baby Spice. And then one of our very wise mothers said, okay, well then just all be Baby Spice. There's 11 of you, and there's only 5 Spice Girls. Just be 11 Baby Spices. And we were.
See,
Sharing.
Improvisation. Yes, and.
Being flexible.
Good job, Mum. That's really very, very good. One of the songs in the show, it's a testament to a time when, I guess, before you had to go through all the trouble of swiping for sex, you actually had to push a button on a Nokia like 15 times.
Yeah, when we used to work for things.
I worked. Do you know how much effort it took me to type this out with my thumb? The words "you up." Sometimes just the letter U.
Wow.
Because I care about your time. I don't want to waste it. It's a beautiful. I don't want to spoil the show, but that's just a magnificent ode to shitty pickup culture and how transactional relationships have unfortunately become.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, that song is my favorite song in the entire show. And it's our second song. And it was the last song that I wrote. I couldn't quite figure out this missing puzzle piece of the script. And then I just thought, why fight it? It's a simple thing in front of me on my phone. That's what it's all about. And it is, the whole show is, yes, as we've talked about, it has some deeper critiques, I guess, but it's pretty affectionate. And I think that song as well I love because it feels like the most boy bandy. I think Dave and I really nailed the production of that song.
What are the challenges of being, like I said, all female cast, all in drag? What are the challenges of trying to get that look? Because you've got to get the look right.
Got to get the look, yeah.
What was the thing that gave you the real breakthrough with getting the look right?
Yeah, well, we did, we really tried to find the different archetypes within the band. So there is the cute, like, little brother boy next door type. There's the leader of the group. There's the bad boy. There's the heartthrob, finding those elements. And yeah, as you say, we've got a female and non-binary cast playing these roles. And so finding the ways where we can leave ourselves, and find this completely new look has been hilarious and challenging. But we've experimented. We've played with a lot of different drag makeup. We've tried a lot of different looks. We've tried a lot of different eras of boy band style to find what sort of worked for us. But it's really remarkable. The first time that we ever put on our costumes and makeup, we worked with this amazing makeup artist who does a lot of drag tutorials, and she came in and gave us this fabulous lesson about how to transform into the lads. And as soon as we put on the makeup and we put on our costumes, it really was very transformative, and we all just, we were taking up more space, and it was so much fun, and it really was the thing that unlocked the performance for us. One of our cast members, Megan Walsh, who's this phenomenal actor, she plays Tyler, who's like the heartthrob of the band, the jock, and his look is, eyebrow slit, very like muscly protein bro, that kind of vibe. But in her life outside of the show, she works as a burlesque performer in the most sort of like 1940s, 50s pinup style that you could imagine. So she has this double life at the moment where it's the epitome of femininity and all of this thing going to this Tyler skeezy jock bro. It's amazing. It's just been such a lesson that gender is just such a performance, It's amazing.
Going to see Fuckboys the musical is the best date night you'll ever go on, ever.
Thank you.
And I don't know how much time you've got to do it, but if you want, what would be really fun is we could recreate like a kind of Channel V segment where, I interview the band, or we get Danny Clayton to interview the band, and we could just do the whole thing with the crash zooms and the Dutch tilts, and
yes,
we could, and then cut it up. We could run it through a processing thing so it looks like it's VHS, whatever.
Yes,
but
please.
That's a total, you totally want to do it. If you want to, I don't know wherever you're going, but we could absolutely make that happen. We could light it like it was, yeah,
Incredible.
like we used to light those things.
That
And
would be amazing.
and because there was a particular way that those bands, the performance wasn't just on stage, it was also
Oh.
the way that people are in interviews is as choreographed and
Oh,
as
yeah.
created.
They're maintaining their characters and all that press that they do.
The answers they give
Mhm.
are all very written beforehand. They are rehearsed just like the dance moves. The questions are approved. It was, I mean, you could tell when the questions weren't approved because they just didn't answer them.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, really, mate? Okay. It was fun because we're naughty boys, we're live, but you could tell when they were like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to do here. Because the guy is over there with a stern look and he's got my
The guy
passport.
who tells us what to do.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we should totally do that.
We should totally do that. That'd be amazing.
It'd be mad fun. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it because the show's changed. Obviously, as you mentioned, like the show's changed a bit, and that's the best part about a live performance is that you can tweak timing every night. But there's a thing about going to see something live. You're not going to get the same performance that people got the night before,
Totally.
and the people the next night won't get. That performance really, truly relies on the reaction that you give as an audience member. And if you laugh a little harder at something particularly dark, the cast know, oh shit, there's some dark stuff coming up later. I'm going to milk it just a little bit more.
Yep.
And I'm going to be maybe a little bit more pointed about it. And you're not going to get that rubbing your phone with your finger hoping something magic's going to happen.
No. And I hope as well, with the dark things that the show does touch on, that at least it can be some sort of catharsis for people who go, it's not just me who went through that terrible experience of being, love bombed or gaslighting or whatever it was, and we can all laugh together at the absurdity of the whole thing. Love that.
Which is great. Thanks for coming around.
Thanks for having me.